Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Aya and today I am going to show you how to make the perfect buttery flaky pie crust. Today I'm starting a Thanksgiving series, and what better than a pie crust recipe to start, right? Let me know in the comment below what is your favorite Thanksgiving food, and now let's jump to the recipe. The butter needs to be cold, so make sure it's the last ingredient you take out of the fridge. This crust is made with few simple ingredients. In a medium bowl, I added 2 cups and 2 tablespoons or 300 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Then I used a hand whisk to combine. To that I'm adding 2 sticks or 225 grams of cold butter. As you can see, I previously cut the butter into cubes. I prefer an old butter pie. I am not really a big fan of shortening. And today I am going to make the dough by hand because I think that's the best way to do it. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toss all the butter cubes so they're fully coated in flour. This will help us working with the butter and gonna prevent it from melting too fast. Then what I'm doing here is taking the cubes of butter, then squish them between my fingers, and every time I squish a piece, I kind of wanted to toss it again to make sure it's still coated with flour. And I'm going to keep doing this until the butter is the size of peas or a little bit bigger. Once the butter gets to the perfect size, I'm going to make a well in the center and I'm going to use ice water. Here the amount of water may vary depend on the brand of the flour you're using. So I will show you how you know that you have the perfect amount. I start by adding a few tablespoons, like about 2 or 3 tablespoons of ice water. Then I added 1 tablespoon of white vinegar and mix. Then what I do is I toss it. We are going to hydrate the flour, but not knead it, not mix it. Just toss it. Because if you knead it, you will have a tough crust after baking, and you don't want that to happen. Here, if you squeeze the dough into your hand, you will see that it holds shape, and that part is good. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm looking for the flour that did not get enough water and add 1 tablespoon at a time. You don't want to finish with a sticky dough, so adding the water using the tablespoon at this stage helps to control it more and only hydrate the part that is still dry. I'm looking for the dough to come together, not sticky, not too smooth, just as you see in the video. Now I'm going to dump this right into the plastic wrap. It helps to have something between your countertop and your dough to help you work with it. Okay, at first it looked like a big mess, but if you squeeze it with your hand, it becomes pie dough. So just use the plastic wrap to bring it together a few times. It just needs to be pressed. Then just flatten it out into a disc. Wrap it out because you don't want it to be exposed and dry out in the fridge, and chill in the fridge for at least 1 hour. You can also do this dough like couple days in advance, even a week in advance, and just freeze it. That's what I'm planning to do for Thanksgiving. Once the dough has chilled enough, you want to take it out of the fridge and let it sit for 5 minutes in the countertop. Here I have my pie disc and my rolling pin and my rice and parchment paper. I like to use rice. I will show you that after. Here, be generous with the flour in the countertop. Very important because you don't want the dough to stick. So you can also use a pastry mat or a parchment paper, but still sprinkle some flour before you work your dough. And now using a rolling pin, start flattening the dough by pressing in the middle, rolling up and down, and then rotate it to make sure it's not getting stuck to the surface. If you see a crack, it's okay. Just pinch it together and keep rolling. I keep doing this until I get a dough that is 1/8 of an inch. I don't want it to be too thin, but I don't want it to be too thick either. What I do is I like to turn the pie plate upside down, and if it's like 1.5 inch all the way around it, it's good. Now what I do is I roll it up into the rolling pin, Then place my pie dish in front of me, roll the dough in. For this step, I am gonna press in. You don't want to stretch the dough out because it will shrink back when it bakes and you're gonna lose the shape of it, and you don't want to do that. Then I trim the excess pie dough off with my scissors. I actually like to keep a little bit of excess dough. You will see why in a second. So here I am folding the excess dough under and to give it that classic edge look, and I press it together. Then what I do, I use my left hand to make like a kind of V shape with my thumb and forefinger, and then I use the pointer finger of my right hand to press toward it. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfectly perfect, but when they all look alike, it gives you a better looking pie once it's baked. I use a fork to poke the bottom of the pie crust as well as the edges, and this is gonna prevent the crust from puffing up while I'm baking it. So what I do is take a piece of parchment paper and I crinkle it up. This will make the parchment paper a little bit more malleable so that it fits nicely into the pie plate. For the weight, I like to use rice. You can use lentil or peas. Anything that's small that will really fit into all of the nooks and crannies of the pie shell. Now this goes into the fridge for 30 minutes while I heat up the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, I recommend to place a baking sheet into the oven while it's heating up. This will help having an evenly baked pie crust. Okay, it's been 30 minutes in the fridge. This will go right into the preheated oven for 20 minutes. You want to make sure that the bottom of the crust is completely set before removing the parchment paper. The crust looks nice and set, and I'm going to remove the pie weight now. Now I am going to brush the entire surface with egg white. This protects the crust, so if you add in a wet filling, the pie crust will stay crispy. Nobody wants a soggy pie crust, right? Before I put it back into the oven, I reduce it to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and place some foil paper around the pie crust. What you will do is take some aluminum foil, fold it in half, and gently create a kind of ring. This will protect the edges so it doesn't burn while the rest of the crust finish baking and get a nice golden color. And I am going to bake this again for 15 to 20 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Our perfect pie crust is ready. I am going to use it for the next video as I'm going to make the perfect pumpkin pie. So stay tuned and see you in the next video.